Hello students, welcome to my lecture series for SYBSc Zoology, Paper 2nd Applied Zoology. I am Dr. Sangita Bhamare, Department of Zoology, S.V.K.T College, Devlali Camp, Nashik. Today, I am going to take your first chapter from the Applied Zoology syllabus, Introduction to Sericulture. So, basically, in this lecture, we are going to talk about what is sericulture, before that what is silk, and then we will turn towards the types of different silkworms. So, basically, in Introduction to Sericulture, here sericulture means what? So, an introduction to here we are going to talk about this taxonomic position of the varieties of the silk produced in India. Mulberry, tussar, eri, muga, and this different type of silks which are also produced in our country or in whole world. So, learning objectives for this are, you people can get the information related to the sericulture, what is silk, what are the types of silkworm, etc. So, as I said, here we are going to talk about the sericulture, silk and types of a silkworm, and then we will take just an overlook of the life cycle of the BOMBYX mori, which is one of the type of a silk moth. So, basically silk has been under the use of human beings for various purposes. So, it is known as the queen of fiber. Remember, silk is known as a queen of fibers due to its high skill production of the silk in the world, the better quality, etc. So, the rearing, developing and looking for the silk insect is termed as a sericulture. So, silk, which is known as a queen of fiber, and sericulture means the developing, then rearing and looking of the silk insect is known as the sericulture. So, as I told you, it is the queen of fiber. So, how we can define this queen of fiber? So, it is a fine, strong, soft, lustrous fiber produced by the silkworm to make the cocoons and collected to make the thread and fabric. So, basically, we people can get the silk from the cocoons, which are one of the life stage of this particular silk moth. So, silk is also spun by some insect larvae and by most of the spider. So, not necessary that silkworms or silk moths are responsible to produce the silk. Some other insects are also there, like spider, are ready to secrete the particular fibrous structure. We can label it as a silk. So, which is not actually the silk, but one of the type of a fibrous structure. We people can compare it with the silk. So, silkworm distribution, if you are talking about, so where it is distributed, where, what is the habitat, etc. So, here, so native to the China, the silkworm has been introduced throughout the world and has undergone complete domestication. So, although in theory the silkworm can be reared anywhere that mulberry trees will go, in fact, it is more limited in distribution. So, actually it is not the case that the silkworm can be cultivated or can be reared in a particular area. So, wherever we can cultivate these mulberry trees, which is one of the essential food material for the silkworm, especially BOMBYX mori and few silkworm. So, whenever we are ready to cultivate it, whenever this tree or this particular plant is ready to grow, in that area we people are able to rear this silk insects. So, silkworm cannot live in temperature below 16 degrees Celsius. So, here strictly it requires above 16 degrees Celsius. So, why it is so? Because below 16 degrees Celsius, the insect cannot survive properly, as well as there will be the problem for the food which is essential, or the plants which are essentials for this particular silkworms. So, here this is about the distribution of the silkworm. So, if you are talking about the history of the silkworm, means from where actually it is discovered, what is the history behind the discovery of the silk and who firstly discovered this particular fiber. So, Lodzu, who was the empress of Wangti, China, discovered the origin of the silkworm in the form of a particular thread. but this technique was kept as a secret that time. The sericulture technique was known only to China as it was the secret, and one who tried to open it hanged to death or punished. So, then the secrecy was opened when 2 spies from Europe were sent to China. So, Europe basically today is responsible to open this secret which is associated with the silk and the silkworms. So, now we turn towards the different type of a silk moth which are suppose ready to secrete this particular silk fiber. So, remember one thing, so many insects I already told you are ready to produce this particular silk fiber. So, here basically the 4 types which are mentioned in our syllabus, I am going to talk or I am going to explain regarding this particular types. So, the silk producing machine is an insect called as a silk moth. So, the insect or that particular silk moth basically is known as a silk producing machinery. So, types of silk: mulberry silk, tussar silk, airy silk and muga silk. So, remember this type of silk are labeled according to the type of a insect. Means muga silk is produced by the muga silk, mulberry silk is produced by the mulberry silkworm. Then this or we called it as a BOMBYX mori is the name of that particular insect. Then tussar silk, tussar silkworm, airy silkworm and muga silkworm. So, these are the type of a silk and which are labeled as per the type of the insect. So, first of all we will talk about the mulberry silk. So, what is mulberry silk? As I told you, this silk is produced by the moth known as a BOMBYX mori. So, BOMBYX mori is a scientific name of the insect which is responsible to give the particular silk thread called as a mulberry silk. So, this is supposed to be superior in quality to other types due to its shiny and creamy color. So, it has been observed that BOMBYX mori is responsible to produce the superior quality thread or superior quality type of a silk. So, it is secreted by the caterpillar of BOMBYX mori which feed on the mulberry leaves. So, one characteristic feature here I am telling you, BOMBYX mori strictly feeds on the particular leaves called as a mulberry leaves. So, as I told you at the time of distribution, so wherever we are able to cultivate this mulberry plant, then in that area we can able or we are able to rear or to develop this particular sericulture technique. The next silk fiber, that is tussar silk. So, remember tussar silk, the type of silkworm which is responsible to produce this type of a silk is Anthria paphiae. So, which is common in India, China, Sri Lanka, etc. I mean basically in Asian countries you can see this tussar silk or Anthria paphiae is very common. So, caterpillar feed on bare oak and fig plant. So, as in previous slide I told you that mulberry silk, right. So, mulberry silk or BOMBYX mori. So, they are able to feed strictly on this mulberry leaves. But here what you can see, the different plants which or plant leaves can be eaten by this particular Anthria paphiae or tussar silkworm. So, tussar silkworm is able to feed on bare oak and fig plant. So, such a type of insects which are able to feed on the various or variety of the plant, we called it as a polyphagous, while the previous insect is strictly with the mulberry leaves or mulberry plant, that is why we called it as a monophagous. So, this is about monophagous and polyphagous. Now, we turn towards the airy silk. So, Attacus ricini is the name, scientific name of this airy worm produced by the caterpillar of this Attacus ricini, which feed on the castor leaves. So, basically airy silkworm is ready to feed on the castor leaves. So, color is creamy white like mulberry but less shiny. So, you can compare the color of this airy silk with this mulberry silk. Muga silk. So, native place is Assam and good source of a cottage industry. So, if you observe carefully here, Assam is the state, or Assam is the cottage industry basically for the Muga silk. So caterpillar feed on the maculus plant, semi-domesticated type of a silkworm. So these are the pictures of the variety of the silk which is produced by the different type of a silkworm. So the silk produced by the BOMBYX mori, we called it as a BOMBYX. Here you can see the BOMBYX, that is the mulberry silk, airy silk. Second one, third one, a little bit brownish in color, you can see it is the Tassar silk, and last fine color is the Muga silk. Now we turn towards the classification of the silkworm. So one of the silkworm, now that is BOMBYX mori, the type of a silk which is produced by the BOMBYX mori is the mulberry silk. So how we can classify basically this silkworm? For example, BOMBYX mori. So it belongs to kingdom Animalia. Phylum is Arthropoda, as it is the one of the type of a jointed leg type of a animal. Then class Insecta, which is the biggest class. Then order Lepidoptera, family Bombycidae, genus BOMBYX, and species Mori. So this is how we can see the classification of the BOMBYX mori. So next to classification, we just turn towards the morphological features or physical characteristics of this insect. So it's pale cream or ashy white in color. So 2.5 to 3 centimeter long and covered with a small color. Body is divided into head, thorax and abdomen. We know this is the common feature which we can see in all insects. So head is big, having large compound eyes and a pair of antennas. Thorax is strong, muscular, 3 segmented structure provided with 2 spiracles and wings, 2 pair of wings. The size of wing is near about 4.6 centimeter. Next, abdomen is covered with scales and highly extended in female, whereas narrow in males. So here few distinguishing features we can see in males and females. So sexes are separate and sexual dimorphism clearly can be seen. So what happens here? Males are smaller than the females. So females live for 2 to 3 days, but males sometimes die after copulation. So once females copulate, they lay the eggs, which are the fertilized type of eggs, and till she dies, means up to the death she is able to lay the eggs. So one moth lay the eggs. So the number of that eggs here you can see up to 400 and 500. So near about 500 eggs are laid by this one moth. But it has been observed that most of the time this number of eggs are also affected because of some climatic condition or the nutrition. Means as per the nutrition and climatic condition, most of the time the number of eggs are laid by this particular moth. Then what are the characteristic features which are associated with this eggs or various life stages? Now we turn towards the stages of the life cycle. So eggs are rounded and white. With increase in time, egg become darker day by day. So here basically before going to start the life cycle, 2 types of insects are there. So insects having the complete life cycle and insects having the incomplete life cycle, and scientifically we call it as holometabolous type of an insect and hemimetabolous type of insects. So as here you can see the complete life stages can be seen. That's why here it is the worm or moth with complete life stages, or it is one of the type of a holometabolous type of a insect. So life cycle or life stage which starts with this eggs. So recently or in previous slide I told you the number of eggs which are laid by suppose this female moth. So the appearance of the eggs if you are talking about. So eggs are rounded and white. With increase in time, egg become darker day by day. So as per the age or as per the time or days are going, then here the rather than off-white, the color will become brown. So 2 types of eggs are there. So dipose eggs and non-dipose eggs. So basically eggs which are laid by the silkworm inhabiting in temperate region, all vital activities are ceased, and in subtropical region basically non-dipose type of eggs are laid. So question arises, what is mean by dipause and non-dipause egg? So basically dipause means what? Suppose atmospheric conditions are not good for the hatching, then at that time whatever the metabolic activities or whatever the biochemical activities which are associated with this hatching are get ceased in that particular egg. Means eggs will remain as it is, right? So we call such eggs as a dipause egg. But suppose once eggs are laid and always ready to hatch, then that time such a type of eggs are called as a non-dipause eggs. So it has been observed that non-dipause eggs can be seen in this particular region called as a subtropical region of the India. So this is the picture of the number of eggs which are laid by this particular insect or moth, and this is the image of the life cycle. So in this life cycle image, what you can see? You can see the different type of life stages with the different instar larvae, etc. So basically two type of eggs are there as per the previous slide. Here also you can see one is the normal egg and one is the dipause eggs. So I told you what is the difference between normal egg and the dipause eggs. So normal egg is always ready to hatch, while dipause eggs will be hatched as per the climatic conditions. So once this eggs get hatched, then whatever the emerging insect is there from that particular egg is called as a ant. Ant is nothing but the newly hatched type of a larvae, right? Or newly hatched worm also we can call it as. So it looks like a ant, that's why it is called as an ant. So after some days, means 3 to 4 days, that ant is converted into the first mold called as a first instar larvae. Now here you can see the stages of the molting. Molting means what? Shedding of the outermost covering. So shading off or after molting, you can see the various instar larvae here as per the time duration. Means ant is converted into the first instar after 3 to 4 days. After 2 to 3 days next to first instar, it will be second instar, then 3 to 4 after that, after 3 to 4 days, third instar, next 4 days you can see fourth instar, fifth instar and fifth instar. After 6 to 8 days is converted into the mature ripened silkworm. Now remember, this mature ripened silkworm is ready to spin this particular fibrous structure which we called it as a silk. So when it is ready to secrete that particular fibrous structure with the help of that salivary gland, then because of this secretion, actually there is a formation of the outermost covering or one of the house you can call as for this worm called as a cocoon. So here in this picture you can see this cocooning process. Because of this cocooning process, there is a formation of the cocoon which is covered with this particular silk thread or silk fiber. Then after 7 to 8 days, you can see the fresh cocoon with the live pupa harvesting. So cocoon structure in which the next stage, next to larva stage, we call it as a pupa, right? So here you can see the presence or occurrence of the pupa, mature pupa inside the cocoon after 7 to 8 days. Means it takes just 7 to 8 days for the cocooning. Then next to means after maturation of this particular pupa, here near about after 3 to 4 days, that pupa is converted into the adult moth. So this is how you can see the various life stages of this silk moth. So these life stages are associated with the BOMBYX mori especially. So as we saw here, eggs, then various stages of the larva which goes through the molting first to fifth instar larvae, then fifth instar larvae which is the mature one ready to secrete the silk thread, and because of which the structure which is going to form hard shell structure, that is actually the cocooning, and inside the cocoon you can see the mature pupa is there, and once the after maturation next 3-4 days after 3 to 4 days it is ready to convert itself into the normal silk moth or adult silk moth. So this is all about the life cycle. So here, as we saw in this previous picture, the detailed explanation I am going to tell you. So what is caterpillar? So in previous slide we saw the eggs, next to it we saw the life stages, and here caterpillar, physiological features of the caterpillar or appearance of the caterpillar. So larva hatches from the egg are 5 to 7 millimeter in length. Body is rough, wrinkled and greyish in color. So here especially mature larva is explained. So it shows the 12 segments as the body is segmented. So distinct 3 parts we saw: head, thorax and abdomen. Head is mandibulate type of a mouth parts, means in head you can see the mandibulate type of a mouth parts, then feed on the particular leaves. As we saw, the various type of a leaves suppose are necessary as a food material for this particular silkworm. So thorax has 3 segments, bear a pair of true jointed legs. Then abdomen shows 10 segments. It feeds on mulberry leaves, as the life cycle which is mentioned in our syllabus is the mulberry silkworm or BOMBYX mori. So here we are talking about the life stages of the BOMBYX mori, remember. So it stop feeding, become inactive after 4 to 5 days, and then first molting occur. So second stage larva is similar to the first one, slightly larger as we saw. Third instar larvae form. Larva repeats this process 4 times. Then maturity is achieved after 45 days, remember, since the time of hatching. So after hatching, for the completion of the mature larva, or when it becomes mature after 45 days. So mature caterpillars are now 7 to 10 centimeter. So by this time formation of a pair of salivary gland is completed. So salivary gland secretes the silk that are called as a silk gland. So here the basically modification of the salivary gland into the silk gland. So this particular modification can be seen. So this is the picture of the salivary gland, you can see, which is divided into 3 different parts. So posterior region, middle region and anterior region. So posterior region, you can see the too much folded area from where the fibrine type of a structure which is essential to make the silk is secreted. Then middle region is there. Then particular Flippi's gland are there which are ready to secrete the particular like a structure called as a gummy structure, which is then here the spinneret. So remember one thing, spinneret is the region from where actually the silk thread is going to oozes out. So here details of this particular silk gland we will see in next lecture. So this is just the overview of this particular silk gland. Now here you can see when this caterpillar, mature caterpillar is ready for the cocooning. So which type of a image or which type of a picture can be seen when it is ready for the cocooning or while doing the cocooning. So fully formed instar larva undergo the physiological changes and become restless. So due to intrinsic hormonal reasons. So when it remains as it is inside the cocoon, that stage is called as a pupa, which is the next to larval stage. So here it moves its head in whirling position constantly and rapidly rotates head and its axis. In meantime, saliva comes out through a small pore known as a spinneret. So here in brief, the cocooning process or formation of a silk thread process is explained. So it is located on the tip of hypopharynx in mouth. There is continuous flow of a saliva through this pore. So as I told you that salivary glands are basically modified in this particular insect so as to secrete the particular thread-like structure called as a silk. So this is the adult silkworm or adult silk moth. Now these are the questions which you have to solve in the form of the assignment. So remember, you have to solve this question and upload the answers in the form of PDF in our Google Classroom. So first question which you have to solve, draw neat label diagram of life cycle of the BOMBYX mori and explain it in brief. So explain in brief, note on classification and distribution of the silk moth. In next lecture, I am going to talk on the details of the silk gland of the silkworm, then the characteristic features related to the tussar silkworm, features associated with the eri silkworm and muga silkworm.